So it's time to compare the Object 122 MT-MC Platoon with the Chieftain Mk.3 Premium Platoon. Both are seasonal offer Premium Platoons, and they're actually quite different. Took me a while to get the Chieftain, but finally got my hands on the vehicle on the last Friday. So let's start with the MT-MC. 120mm main gun, very maneuverable. It has 480 gems, although quite slow 80 gems on the front of the vehicle. Decent armor, composite armor, solid maneuverability, decent reload. Overall, a solid primary vehicle of this platoon. I've had a lot of success with it, and in general, it is a quite capable medium tank. The 80 gems are a little bit slow, but secondary weapons, no complaints for me. Now the PLZ 83 130, this is a tank destroyer, has no armor, has one of the more powerful 130mm main cannons, a very powerful AP shell, but no armor, good penetration, decent speed, actually very fast for the size, but it's huge. It's quite a box, to be honest, and very vulnerable to explosive. The ZTZ-59A, probably my least favorite vehicle of this platoon. I rarely use it. Has a 100mm main cannon, but overall it's more of a T-54 type performance. You can expect something like that. Good as a backup vehicle if the PLZ and Object get destroyed. And the WZ-305. The 57mm autocannon Rat. This thing slaps. Much better accuracy than the ZSU 57-2. Has roughly 100mm of penetration, which is more than enough to flank and pretty much do all of the damage to the vehicles in tier 7 and above. Now the Chieftain Mk.3 has a much better turret armor. Its main cannon does seem to have a little bit more penetration, but it does not have APFS-DS shells, unfortunately, and the APDS shell, as we have seen, isn't really the most reliable one, but it will be able to punch through the armor of most vehicles. Just have to make sure that you're aiming at weak spots, because any angled surface, any angle or anything like that might cause the shell to shatter or bounce, which is annoying, but unfortunately that's just the APDS shells that we get on the Chieftain Mk.3 platoon. The Conqueror, well, I mean, on paper this main cannon is rivaling the main cannon on the PLZ, but the PLZ definitely does a bit more damage because the PLZ has explosive APC BC ammo or explosive APC ammo, which definitely does more damage than the APDS ammo on this vehicle. Although this is a good vehicle, this is a heavy tank, has armor that the PLZ is a tank destroyer, has no armor obviously, but the PLZ does definitely have the more accurate and more powerful main gun, despite this vehicle having a lot more penetration, which is kind of funny. On paper this is just a very scary vehicle, but once you start to drive it around you realize that paper stats aren't really everything to consider. Now the Objects platoon doesn't have a ATGM box unless we count the Object 122 MTMC or whatever the name is. I'll never get used to the name of that vehicle, but the Striker, has better ATGMs, that's for sure. A bit faster than the ATGM on the Object. But the Object has the ATGMs attached on a turret, so it's much easier to launch those missiles in the desired direction, and of course he has armor. And then there's the Falcon versus the WZ-305. I think the WZ-305 definitely has the more powerful main gun, 57mm compared to 25mm, compared to 30mm, but it's just decent autocannon, and I'm not going to, I'm gonna say that this is a good little vehicle. And that was the paper stats. Let's take the main vehicles for a little ride, and let's see how they work. I will start with the Object 122 MT-MC. Now you do get heat shells, you do get APFSDS shells, you do get high-explosive hash shells, although I don't use those because I have 80 gems to be my high-explosive when I need them. As I mentioned before, the 80 gems on this vehicle are not the fastest. They're decent, they do damage, they're capable, but they're slow, they're very slow. However, I am not going to complain too much about that, obviously, because it's a main battle tank with composite armor, very tough turret with a very good main cannon, APFSDS shells, and on top of that it has missiles, which honestly is everything that you can ask for. This vehicle does have it, from good armor to good firepower. Its speed is not really the fastest, but honestly it'll get the job done, so would be unfair to complain about the speed on this vehicle, because if it had speed it would be broken. That would be way too much if it had speed. It is maneuverable though, that's the important thing. It maneuvers left and right, it rotates quickly, it's not behaving like a rock, that's also important. It can get from point A to point B. Now, combat wise, well, performance wise, it honestly does do well. That's a heat bounced. Wow, that's kind of impossible to happen, but it happens when I'm actually the one launching those heat shells. If you manage to hide the lower plate, if you can angle the armor of this vehicle, it can bounce shells. After all, it has tough composite armor, and it's very effective at stopping a lot of shells if you're angled. I wouldn't be relying on the armor too much, but if it comes down to it, you can rely on the armor. However, I wouldn't be relying on the armor myself. I prefer cover, and that's what you should also prefer in top tier, but it's good to know that you do get a decent protection on this vehicle. And on top of that, the 80 gems are also okay, they're decent. Now, how do I play the vehicle? Well, I mean, I play it pretty much like any other main battle tank. The same idea works with any medium tank, with any tank that has some form of speed. I mean, it's not going to work on literally any vehicle. You cannot run around with a T95, for example, but for a medium tank, yeah, it will work like your average medium tank. It is kind of low profile, and as you can see in this position, I actually managed to hide the hull completely. Only the turret is kind of exposed, which is a little bit funny when you think about it. And there we go, a nice little hit with the ATGM. I really enjoy using the ATGM on this vehicle, because I can't really explain it, but it just works. It feels satisfying to use. It's not the best ATGM by any means. You will have ATGMs in this tier that are much more powerful, like the Striker ATGM is much more powerful, but on the Striker the ATGM is placed in a uncomfortable position. If only the Striker had the top-down view, the ATGM view, like the IT1, that will probably be one of the best ATGM premium boxes that there is in the game, but unfortunately that's not the case, which is fine. Again, I like the vehicles that are unique, and they don't have to work like all the vehicles. If they're unique, if they have something unique to them, that's acceptable. And honestly, I would have those unique vehicles be one of the one of the selling points over paper strength. Uniqueness over performance. At least that's how I view things. I could be wrong, of course, but that's just how I view things. Well, that's a double strike. I did play this vehicle a lot. I made a bunch of videos for the Object 122 MTMC, or whatever the name is. I'll never get used to the name of this vehicle, that's for sure. I said that before, but yeah, it's true. A very solid vehicle, and that's the T-95. Bounced, and it hit, but just damaged the main gun. You can rely on armor against certain vehicles that you know will not be able to penetrate you, like the T-95. This is very difficult for the T-95 to penetrate this vehicle at this distance. And I'm just trying to hit the weak spot, which should be right there. There it is. Okay, that worked. Took a while, but eventually the heat shells on this vehicle are decent. They do decent damage. They have changed the way heat shells work a couple months ago, I believe, which was kind of necessary if you ask me, because heat shells used to suck. Now they are definitely better than before, that's for sure. Much better than before, that's for sure. Okay, well, that was a good battle, although still not over yet, but that was a good hit. That was a good battle, and that's pretty much what you could do with this vehicle. It is a capable medium tank, a pretty solid medium tank, and if you prefer if you like a vehicle like this, then yeah, you can definitely expect some good performance out of it. So let's go to the next vehicle of today's video, which would be the Chieftain Mk.3. So the main difference between the vehicles is the fact that this will probably have better turret armor, although the object does get composite armor, but I'm not entirely sure whose armor is more effective, the Chieftain's armor or the composite armor on the object. From my experience, I find the turret on this thing to be probably the best turret on any premium vehicle in this tier. It definitely is slower than the object. I mean, look at the speed, definitely is slower. In theory, it has a much more powerful main gun. However, it has a PTS shells, and the object does have a PFSDS shells, which, as we all know, a PFSDS, or also known as the magic dart, is player's favorite, currently player's favorite, although I would say in my case I actually like a TGMs a little bit more than a PFSDS shells nowadays. Is this able to penetrate most of the vehicles? Yes. However, I would recommend you aim at the weak spots, because again, this APDS tends to ignore doing damage. This APDS shell doesn't really like to do damage, so you have to put the shell in a very specific spot on the enemy vehicle in order for the vehicle to blow up. Is that necessarily a bad thing? Well, it will force you to actually play better, that's a good thing. It will make you play better, that's for sure. A good vehicle to practice aim. However, I would not be using the Conqueror. With the Conqueror you practice patience, because let me tell you, that thing, I don't know what's up with that main gun and with that APDS shell, but that vehicle just is not accurate at all. I cannot explain why, but the Conqueror, either the Conqueror just hates me, which is possible to be honest. The vehicle hates me, or the accuracy is just bad on the Conqueror. I can't really explain it. Like, I've literally played every single premium for the last like couple months, and I've never had a vehicle as inaccurate as the Conqueror. It's impressive how many shots I missed with that, and it's insane the way it misses it, because You aim at the center, right? You aim, let's say you aim at the yak target, you aim at the superstructure left of the gun. You fire, and the shell just drops on the ground in front of the vehicle, not even hitting it. That's my experience with the Conqueror, in most cases. Very difficult to explain, but that's my experience with the vehicle. I've never had that happen with any vehicle that I've played. Very few get close to that level of inaccuracy. So yeah, but so far I haven't had that problem with the Chieftain. So far this thing seems to actually land the shell where you're aiming at, so that's good. And as usual, hold down positions work with both vehicles. Hiding behind rocks and stuff like that will work, obviously. So you can easily take advantage of terrain. A very good gun depression on both vehicles. Very good gun depression. I think the gun depression on the Chieftain might be a little bit better. But the gun depression on the object is also not bad, it's decent. Able to do a hold down, able to creep around corners, that's for sure. One thing where the Chieftain lacks is definitely maneuverability. The object is much more maneuverable, much easier to move around. And this vehicle honestly feels sluggish while driving around. But it's fine since it is decently armored and it has that shovel at the front. And it will be fun when we get the option to actually dig in the ground. That's gonna be fun. We all know that's coming in this game as well at one point, since every single feature from War Thunder, from the PC game, will be added to this game as time goes on, since they're after all made by the same developers. And they both are actually running on the same game engine, which is impressive because the game engine on War Thunder is quite demanding. And did I just get stuck? And there is a revenge bomber coming in. Oh, isn't that just convenient? And I get the worst fighter imaginable. I get spawned at the end of the map. You know, if it wasn't recorded, no one would believe me if I told anyone that such amount of bad luck happens in such amount of short time. It's absolutely insane. And yeah, I am actually stuck. I am unable to move. Okay, well, I guess match ruined. I don't know. Oh, okay. Yeah, this vehicle is not maneuverable at all. So avoid getting yourself in this type of situations because yeah, the phone, this phone has a good chance to become airborne very quickly when stuff like that happens, because it's honestly so annoying when such bad luck just pops in out of nowhere. Well, the battle's coming to an end. It was a good battle actually. A fairly similar score on both, which is what I wanted to do. But at the end of the day, do tell me what you think about these two vehicles. Which one would actually the same score on both? 9 destroyed vehicles with the object, 9 destroyed vehicles with the Chieftain. So that's, as you can see at the end of the day, if you play good with one vehicle, you play good with the other vehicle. If you're skilled, well, you will enjoy both. And at the end of the day, do tell me what you think about both of these vehicles. And well, with that being said, stay safe. And as always, I'll see you next time.